Coming up on the next edition of Power and Politics, the various legal trials and tribulations continue for former President Donald Trump as he comes up with the money to continue the appeal of his civil fraud case. While back in the Sunshine State, the fate of abortion rights and recreational cannabis are now in the hands of voters. Hello and welcome to another edition of Power and Politics. I'm your host, Frank Cipolla. Power and Politics is a weekly, unbiased look at the top stories affecting the state, with a special emphasis on the psychology behind the decisions and issues that affect our lives. We want to take a moment to say hello to our many viewers watching as they do every week throughout the state on various stations, including stations in Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Gainesville, Panama City, and elsewhere. I'm joined today, as I am every week, by my co-host, Emmy Award-winning political psychologist, Dr. Bart Rossi. Dr.
Great to be here again, Frank.
Okay, we begin the show with former President Donald Trump paying his court-ordered $175 million in time as he prepares to appeal his civil fraud case. Doctor, this is something that is either a win or a loss for the former president. He was able to pay it in time, but then again, it is a court case that he technically lost. So how does it play on the campaign trail?
It's a big win. There's no question about it, because the optics are off the table here. He doesn't have to worry about the seizure of his properties. This is now past November. There can be a delay in this case, and maybe he feels that as president of the United States, if he gets elected, then he can minimize and marginalize this whole case, and he probably would be able to do that. So no question, the optics are off the table. He's a winner on this one.
Well, we're not attorneys, obviously. I'm not. I know you're not as well. You're a psychologist. But it was $500 million, right, and it was knocked down to 175. Just that is a win.
It's a win. I mean, he may have to pay all of this money. The appeals court could be very difficult on him, but that will be much later. It could be months, could be a year or two.
One case that is looming is his hush money trial case. That comes up or is due to start on April 15th. The judge in that case just this week issued an expanded gag order after the president tweeted on, or I should say on his Truth social media site, started making disparaging remarks, not only about the judge in the case, but the judge's daughter. So this sounds like a no-nonsense judge here.
Well, Frank, I think there's some interesting psychology here.
And you're a psychologist, so tell us about it.
I really believe that Donald J. Trump and his attorneys are showing that this is something that's making them very anxious. Because as we said here last week, there's a lot to this case. And most people don't realize it. They don't realize that this is about taking money that was donated to his campaign, and then that money being used to pay a porn star that he had an affair with. That's what he's charged with. I don't think most people get that yet. And the optics and the vision that's going to happen here with this case is not going to be good. And they're trying to push it back. They're trying to do everything to minimize this case.
Okay, we had some primaries this week as well. We had primaries in New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. This is the time of the year where they start digging down a little bit to see what's going on. And it's interesting to note, and we'll take Connecticut as example, the home of Yale University, a full 24% of the voters there voted uncommitted when it came to President Biden. And in Westport, Connecticut, if you know anything about Connecticut, it's one of the most affluent cities in Connecticut and in the country, Westport, Connecticut, and 27% of the voters there did not vote for Donald Trump.
You know, Frank, it shows that in this election cycle, Biden has a lot of work to do, especially with people who are leaning more in favor of Palestinian state. Donald Trump has a lot of work to do. He has the Haley voters. He's got some Christie voters. He's got a lot of work to do to try to capture even Republican votes. So there's a lot of ifs and maybes here.
So that, to me, is almost like uncommitted for
And there's an undercurrent there against the former president that's a real issue. It's a real problem.
There is a concern as well in Ukraine. I read a story this morning that not only running out of ammunition, but they may not have the manpower to beat back a Russian push. This, as in Congress, the debate goes on. You, before the show, said to me, you have concerns about Speaker Mike Johnson because he's in the middle of all of this.
Right.
And there's some psychology behind it.
I think the psychology here is fascinating because it's changed. The dynamics have changed now. And I think that he is more in danger for himself and his position if he does not put this up for a vote. And he was really being pressured to keep it off, not have a vote. I think that he has to get it out in order for him to keep his seat, because there are Republicans who are adamant. They want this out, and they want to vote, and they want to vote positively to support Ukraine. So the Speaker now has a lot of pressure to do something rather than not doing anything.
Regardless of the party, if you ever wanted a thankless job, that is it. The
That's
Speaker
it.
of the House of Representatives in 2024.
Yeah.
Okay, time now for one of our regular segments, a commentary from Dr. Rossi that we call the Rossi Rant.
And Frank, today I'd like to go off on conspiracy theories, because with the bridge collapse in Maryland, what's happened is that people are coming up with these bizarre claims that it was a Ukrainian captain, for example, who crashed the bridge, and he was angry at the United States, all kinds of oddball conspiracy theories. So I just want to say that psychologists have looked at this for years, and what they're finding out is that conspiracy theories are really very significant with people who have high anxiety and anger. It's not so much that the conspiracy works for them and it gives them pleasure, but they lean in the direction of coming up with these conspiracy theories. They feel the need to do it because they're anxious and angry and agitated. And it breeds more, of these conspiracies that don't make any sense. Psychologists even have a word for it. They call it confabulation. What that really means is you confuse certain factors with other factors that you've confused, and you come up with an idea that makes no sense, a confabulation, kind of like what a conspiracy theory really is. And I think that people ought to take a real good look at some of these conspiracies and make some solid judgments as we go forward.
We've talked about this before. With a conspiracy, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Absolutely anything is possible. All right, thank you, Doctor. Coming up, we look at a couple of important Florida Supreme Court decisions that passed this week, as abortion rights and the legalization of cannabis for recreational use is now on the ballot this November, when Power and Politics continues.
Rated the best hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audien Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
1-800-809-9816. 1-800-809-9816. 1-800-809-9816.
Welcome back to Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla, joined by political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. The Florida Supreme Court with a couple of important decisions this week. First, deciding that an initiative can go on the ballot this November, which would enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution, and an initiative to legalize recreational marijuana use in the state. Okay, let's take these one at a time. The abortion one was huge for a lot of people. They needed, I think, 850,000 petition signatures. They got 900 some odd thousand. And the Supreme Court says the wording of the initiative is fine. It should be on the ballot.
Right.
Your thoughts? Who does this help initially and come November?
Well, this is really a dynamic story, a giant story here in Florida and across the nation, actually, because the psychology here is now the candidates have to make a decision. They have to stand for something. Rick Scott, he's running again. He has to stand up and say, is he for this or against? He's going to be against it, most likely. And that's going to have impact against him, because most people want abortion rights here in Florida. Most people, most polling would say overwhelming majority.
Republican and Democrat.
Yes, and many Republicans signed on to those 900,000 ballot initiatives. So you're going to have Biden and you're going to have Donald Trump have to come up with an answer to this. Are you for it or are you against it? And interesting psychology, because it forces the issue. The candidates cannot talk around the abortion issue. And to me, that is the most important aspect of this.
You know, to me, I think it helps the incumbent president, President Biden.
Yeah.
Because those who are inclined to enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution are younger voters. They're more apt to vote Democratic based on the demographics of it. So I think, and we'll talk about recreational marijuana in just a moment, those two issues really are going to bring more Democrats, I think, to the polls.
Yes, and also there are many women here in Florida who are not really that enthusiastic about Donald Trump, Republican women, who support abortion rights. So this whole initiative is going to change the election. And I think what you've been saying for a long time, that Florida is in play.
Right.
Florida is in play, and it's going to be a very tight race.
There are some who contend that this is a red state. It's become a red state. I don't agree with that. I think some of the congressional districts were changed in such a way to make more Republicans get elected, and it's a Republican legislature, so they can do what they want, obviously. But I think it's still a purple state, and we will see come November.
We will see, but the messaging from the Democrats has to be different. They've really had a party that's been out of touch here in Florida. They've not done a very good job. They need to step it up, have a good campaign, and there's a lot of Republicans who are under pressure now also.
All right, let's talk about the initiative to allow recreational marijuana use in the state. Another situation in which I think a lot of people come out and vote for this, and they may be more apt to vote Democratic as well, if I'm guessing.
I think the interesting psychology here is that if it brings more voters out, it may push the numbers in favor of the Democrats. So having marijuana on the ballot also helps boost the abortion issue and boost Democrats. So it's all a favorable ruling by the Supreme Court for those in the middle, leaning a little left, and of course for progressives.
I think we might be surprised. This is just a reporter speculating.
There could be some surprises here in Florida, yeah.
All right. The other big story is, and you know how this works, the presidential candidate starts talking about who's going to be my vice presidential running mate. And, you know, they have this long list of men and women they need to schmooze, impress, make them feel good, and then have a real short list of the legitimate. Two of those people on the list, I don't know which list, is Congressman Byron Donalds from Southwest Florida, who's gotten a lot of publicity in the last couple of years, including during the fight for a new speaker in the House. And also Senator Rubio, who clashed with Donald Trump over the years in a terrible way, but apparently he is receptive should that come up as well. Your thoughts on Rubio, your thoughts on Donalds?
My thoughts are no. No and no.
So they're in that list where they're just...
it's not going to happen. He needs a woman. I mean, there are so many women in this country who are against Donald Trump or leaning against him because of his own behavior and his personality. He needs a woman to stand out and step it up and say something positive about him. He needs a running mate that's going to really push back against some of the issues that are hurting him right now in the election.
If you are a woman or man who is being considered as vice president to Donald Trump, would you not look at what has transpired?
Well, you have to be loyal to Donald Trump, and if there's any deviation, that's a problem. And everyone knows that. That's who he is, and that's how he operates. So, to your point, anyone who says, yes, I'll be the VP, they're in for a pretty rough road.
Has to understand that going in.
You have to understand that. It's going to be a tough road.
Great article this week as well. 500,000 residents of Florida have left the state. They're not thrilled with the politics of it. They're concerned about hurricanes, the heat, and so on and so forth. That was surprising to me because whenever we do a story about Florida, it's always people coming here from the north, but they've left. Your thoughts on that? The psychology of that?
I think the psychology here is that the state legislature has gone very far right, again, with 6-week abortion ban and other issues, the Don't Say Gay law, the fight against Disney, a lot of issues, new laws coming into play, supposedly the freedom state, but freedom only depending on how you look at it, okay? A lot of people don't like the atmosphere. A lot of people are getting a little sense of a question mark on Florida.
And by the way, that freedom issue is something I'm going to tackle in my commentary, which comes up later in the show. I'm glad you gave me a little promo.
A little promo.
All right, thank you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the always popular sunshine or shower segment when we see who spent a week enjoying the sunshine in Florida and who left the house without an umbrella. When Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. As you know, the weather can change in the wink of an eye in Florida, so every week we span the great state to find out who enjoyed the warm rays of sunshine and who got caught in the rain. It's time now for the always popular segment, Sunshine or Showers. And we start with you because we start with the sunny days. Who is in the sunshine this week?
Frank, I'm putting professional baseball in the sunshine. The season has just started. As you know, I had a chance with the Twins a long time ago.
Yes, you played semi-pro baseball.
I
yeah.
played semi-pro
That's right.
baseball until I was almost 40 years old. And
they didn't pick you up when you were 40?
They didn't pick me up. No, they interest. But last year, over 70 million fans attended ball games in the stadiums. And baseball, I think, is on the upswing, even though a lot of people think the other side of that. They think that maybe it's going down or being degraded in some way. Not true. There are more little leagues, and I think that baseball has a really good future, and it's good for us. I think baseball, and getting addicted to baseball, if you will, gets us out of some of this stuff that's going on in society, and I think it's healthy. It's a good thing. It's good to be a fan of baseball.
Even though, as we speak right now, the Marlins are 0-6.
Are they 0-6?
And the Tampa Bay Rays are 3-3. Yeah, I watch my baseball as well.
Okay, there you go. Well,
Okay.
Yankees are 5-1. So
All right, so there you go. Now you have to ask me who's in the sunshine.
Okay, sunshine for you.
All right, we got to work on. We have to work on.
We have to work on it. Okay.
I tell you, I'm going to put in the sunshine this week. I'm going to put Florida Power and Light (FPL), and they're not a sponsor of the show, but folks, they've saved some money on natural gas, and starting May 1, everybody's bill or the average bill will go down about 6%. So Florida Power and Light, you know,
It makes sense.
It usually goes the other way around.
Yeah, no, this is
It's
good.
usually they're raising rates, but you know, again, they're not a sponsor, but I got to give them their props. They were in the sunshine this week because they said, hey, we're saving money on natural gas, and we're going to pass it on
Good
to
to
you.
highlight that. Good, very
Yes,
good. Yeah, I like
because
it.
I'm a giver.
Okay.
All right, now,
All right.
with every sunny day, you know what happens, Doctor?
Yes, we have some showers.
We get some showers, sometimes rain, sometimes it's all day rain. Who is in the shower?
Well, this is heavy rain. And again, we're talking about something that we've hit on for the last 4 weeks, okay? But there are some legislators who are now pushing even harder for religious counselors to go into the school systems because they feel that there's a need for intervention because the kids are having serious problems. They're highlighting some of the serious problems. There's some pushback actually from some religious organizations too now, because this, in my view, this is exactly the opposite of what we need. We do not need religious folks in the schools when kids have maybe suicidal ideation, high anxiety, suffering from depression.
They should have psychologists like yourself.
People who know the traits and the problems that these kids have.
All right, now you have to do something.
Okay, showers for you, Frank, please.
We're going to get it right.
Give us the
Hey,
shower.
this is a serious showers, actually. You all remember the 2016 shooting at the Pulse nightclub near Orlando. Lots of people killed, many more injured. They started a One Pulse Foundation. They gave the foundation $20 million to commemorate this terrible shooting, and to $20 million of tourist money. Long story short, and that's why they're in the showers, the One Pulse Foundation is broke, and not only is broke, $20 million gone, they can't find $6.5 million of it. So they are in the showers.
Definite showers here.
All right, maybe lots of showers, I don't know. Coming up, it's time for a break. When we return, a commentary by yours truly titled, Let's Be Frank, when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. Freedom is not one thing. Freedom means many things to many people. But if you listen to some, freedom is only what they believe it to be. I talked last week on this show about a gentleman I met who kept referring to Florida as the Freedom State, to which I say, according to who? He may be in the perfect state of personal freedom, and I'm happy for him, but his freedom is not my freedom or yours. This week, the state Supreme Court okayed a ballot initiative that would enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution. For women in this state, and for many more nationwide, the ability to control their bodies, minus an unrealistic deadline, is for them what freedom is. Not what legislators in Tallahassee and a governor who knows nothing about their personal trials and tribulations decide it to be. But there's a catch. The measure, which is overwhelmingly supported by Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, has to be approved by 60% of voters in Florida. Why not 50%? Well, the state legislature, after Florida voters passed a bill giving those who have been incarcerated and paid their debt to society the right to vote, decided that 50% wasn't good enough. Now ballot initiatives require 60% to pass. Is that freedom Is that representative government? Doesn't the majority rule? The state Supreme Court also okayed an initiative that would allow recreational use of marijuana. Not everyone agrees on this as well, but the Declaration of Independence says we have the right to the pursuit of happiness. So for those who support either or both of these initiatives, that is their definition of freedom. And finally, while we're talking about it, the new friend I met this week, who believes Florida is the freedom state, I asked him, if it's so free, why aren't I allowed to have my children read the books that I read when I grew up? Why is it okay for one or two parents to dictate to a school board what they think our children and our grandchildren should read? In my opinion, we have too long bent over backwards pleasing a small but vocal group of Floridians who feel it's their job to tell us what they think freedom is. We also are long past the time that we should be putting up with it. We'll be right back. That's it for this week's edition of Power and Politics. On behalf of my co-host, political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi, and the fine folks working behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. As always, we'd like to know what you think. Visit us at powerandpolitics.tv or email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. We'll see you again a week from now at this time and on this same station. Have a great week.